Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me on today's Sunday Summit. I'm Regan Barassa. If you've followed me on Instagram for a while, you know me there as Pace My Heart. And this community here, I call it Pace Your Heart, where I share some of the struggles I've gone through and just life events I'm navigating in hopes that sharing it helps other people. Today I'm going to jump in. I'm doing this a little bit later than I normally would, but I've had a bit of a long day. If you follow me on Instagram, you know last night I was up till 11, which doesn't sound very late, but given some of my health stuff, I have been early to bed these days. So I'm a little tired today and I had a very long day, but I'll share it with you. So first, I think I'll jump in and just give you the update on my health stuff this week because I had a few appointments. So I had a virtual appointment with a plastic surgeon. Friday, I was 6 weeks post-op. So it was our 6-week check, but we had it kind of before then, and I did pictures for him pretty much at the 5-week mark anyways. And he was very excited about where I'm at results wise. And it's kind of a funny thing for me because I've never had anything like plastic surgery. So I don't really know how to gauge my kind of results or where I'm at, or because I know I have still a long way to go in the healing process. But he was so excited, honestly, that I was like, oh, okay, great, then I'm doing really well. And he shared kind of before and after results and on his social media page, which he doesn't normally do at the 6-week mark anyways. And then he doesn't usually do like skin removal patients with massive weight loss. He does a lot of like more athletic builds. But yeah, so anyways, just made me realize that I'm doing well for where I'm at. Sorry, hair. And yeah, just to kind of appreciate where I'm at, even if not everything is going perfectly. I feel like I have something on my lip. Anyways, real life here. I don't edit. So that was really good. I think I had told you that I suspected that I might do compression for longer, that he might suggest that because I'm struggling with water retention. And I showed some pictures of my legs there from last night, just going out for dinner in the theater, and I wore boots, and while they were quite comfortable when I put them on, by the time I got home, I felt like I had like sausages stuck in casing there. I was glad that they zipped down because I wouldn't have been able to pull them off, quite honestly. So he did suggest that I stay in full compression for another 2 weeks. And then after that, he suggested even a further month of 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So not a shocker. I kind of thought he might say that, and he said, you know, it happens. I've actually connected with the other woman that had surgery the same day as me, and she's on the same path, doing the same kind of regimen. So yeah, it's not uncommon. And he said even he has water retention he notices at the end of long surgery days. So yeah, it's just life. It's what happens to us, and I'm sure as we get older, it becomes more prominent. How many of us remember, you know, our grandparents struggling with water retention, that type of thing. So it takes a while. And I had a lymphatic massage this week. I found a therapist, and she comes to the house, which is great. And she said, especially given, you know, the complexity of my particular skin loss and reconstruction, that it will probably take about a year for my lymph system to sort of recalibrate, reformulate its path. So it needs encouragement, and I asked if exercise could help or hinder, and she said it kind of goes either way. And fortunately, I did find this week that it seemed to kind of help. I noticed in the morning that there was less retention, and then this morning, because I had not slept as much or elevated my legs kind of in the routine that I've been in the evenings, there was still quite a bit of water retention this morning. And when I weighed myself, out of curiosity, was up 3 pounds, which is, nothing in the scheme of things, but it's just a curiosity sort of tool, I guess, to see that pans out on the scale as well as what I was kind of seeing in the mirror. So I will follow along with the compression suggestions for sure. I'm nothing if not a compliant patient for the most part. He said it shows. He said you're eating well and resting and all those things, which I am. Definitely focused on that. And I will have another lymphatic massage this week, and then she said I'll probably be ready to go to like sort of every other week, and then from there, once a month. And then she sort of showed me how to massage my incisions, because you do that so that they don't become fibrous, so they're, I don't know, nice and soft and smooth and that type of thing. And it also encourages your lymph system to release. So she has me doing that twice a day, massaging my incisions. So that's part of the process. And Dr. Galanis also suggested that I do this scar cream for 6 months. So I'll do that. And I think this week I'm going to try and do red light therapy, because he said that would be good to do as well. So there is a company here in town called Bronze Backs, which does different spa services, including tanning and that type of thing, but they have a dedicated red light booth, so I'll give that a whirl, see if that helps. Also on the health front, let's see, I had a GP appointment and we talked about my anemia. So I'm just sort of, my numbers are just on the cusp of where you would be to have infusions done. And I discussed before that I've done that before. So she asked, she said she wasn't sure if they would line it up based on my numbers, but maybe because of my past history, they might consider doing it. And I just asked her to hold off. I said, I think there's kind of multitude of things at play, because I'm having some colon issues, and I know my numbers should be getting better as we go along post-surgery. She said it takes about 3 months usually for your blood stores to kind of come back up, so I've got a little ways to go on that. And I also realized I hadn't been as good at taking my multivitamin, because I had been on so many things post-surgery that was when I got a little lax on. So it has some iron in it, so I said, that is one small dose that I can tolerate, so I'm being very diligent with that right now. So I'm working on diet and exercise, taking my multivitamin, trying to sleep well and regularly and consistently. So those are the things that I can do. So we kind of agreed that we would just track the anemia for right now, and hopefully we'll just see it ramping up, even if it's, not going that fast, but if it's heading in the right direction. I'd rather do that than sign myself up for iron infusions, because as I said before, I don't really love those either. And I finally finished doing the blood thinner injections. So yeah, I don't really want to torture myself with anything else if I don't need to. Done with the needles for a little while if I can. So that was good. And then my oopsie-daisy for myself this week was I went into what I thought was my appointment with the colorectal surgeon for February 18th to discover it was March 18th. So I've got a ways to wait on that. They couldn't squeeze me in, and he's got a big backlog. So thankfully right now everything is fairly stable. So yeah, I'll just hang in for that and see what happens. So that's about it on the health front. On Instagram, I shared that I started going to the MNP um, club to work out, and all I'm doing right now, really, what Dr. Galanis said was he kind of cleared me for sort of half intensity at this point. Like, it's okay to raise my heart rate, but not full-fledged yet. So I'm basically just doing incline on the treadmill, and that's about it. And at home, I'm just doing the exercises that I have from my hip rehab program for using bands and that type of thing. So nothing too intense. In 2 weeks, I get total clearance. So I'll start back in the pool doing deep water workout. And that'll really get my heart going. And he said, he clears me for everything. He said, except don't decide you're a deadlifter or something like that. He said, you got to work up your fitness level again. And I kind of laughed and said, deadlifting wasn't really on my agenda anyways. I know it's good to lift heavy, but I do have some back issues, so I have to do that cautiously. And tomorrow I'm actually going to see the rehab doctor that I did the hip program with, and we're going to look at assessing my back and seeing if he can recommend some specific things to help with my back, which is mostly mid-back issues, and probably due to my scoliosis more than like arthritis or that type of thing. So I'll see what we can do there. And I'm going to the gym tomorrow as well, just to have an assessment with a personal trainer. I don't think that's anything I'm going to do right now, but it came with my package, and yeah, might as well see what they have to say. So that'll be good. So I think that's all my health stuff. It seems like a lot to me anyways. And I'm tired, but I'm powering through. Yeah, and just focusing on good lifestyle choices. That's about it. A couple of things that I wanted to chat about, I guess. Today I went to church, and it was kind of a timely sermon because it was talking about if someone doesn't treat you kindly or isn't nice to you or doesn't want to be your friend. And I kind of had something pop up in my life in the last little while, in that I think I've shared, like, I belong to different women's groups, and there's a group that I am involved in, and there's a woman that doesn't like me. And I don't know why, and it doesn't matter to me because it's of no importance to me. I've always been kind and sociable, and not everybody likes everybody. That's just the fact. And it's just, we meet every couple of weeks, and sometimes she's there and sometimes she's not. But my friends are so kind. They are not happy that, someone doesn't like me. And I've said, really, it's of very little importance to me. What matters to me is how I move in the world. And today's sermon was really on that same effect. Like, if someone treats you unkindly, you just treat them with kindness, because obviously there's discontent on their front. But that doesn't mean that you need to be a doormat. So, like, I'm not seeking out to find out why she doesn't like me, or to befriend her in any which way. That really has nothing to do with me. But I don't give myself a lot of headspace to invite in someone that doesn't enjoy my company. All I can do is just be who I am and be content with who I am and how I treat people, and yeah, that's just it. And so that was our sermon today. So I just found that was sort of interesting and timely for me. So I don't know if that's ever impacted you, and I don't know. Of course, we all hope people like us, but not everyone likes everybody, and that's just the reality of it. Yeah, so I've had a few conversations around that, and sort of saying to my friends, don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. You don't need to worry about it. Let's just enjoy what we're, there to do, basically. And then after church today, I was invited, I've joined an outreach network through my church, which helps immigrant families and indigenous people, primarily with financial supports and community connections, whether that's helping find housing in a community or job opportunities, that type of thing. And they have been going since the 80s, I think is what was said at the meeting. And so they've had quite a rotation of people, of course, through the years, and they have a budget and they help different organizations. So I'm really excited to kind of onboarding and seeing how I might be able to fit in and help in some regard. Volunteering at the Little Red Reading House, we, especially with the schools that come in, they tend to be very culturally diverse, and that's made me really aware of the different cultures in our community and different groups that need assistance. And I think the outreach network said they've helped something like people from 50 different countries. So that's amazing. What an amazing legacy. So to be able to join them and see how I can help, that'll be great. And because I joined them, today one of the people that they have helped is a woman from the indigenous community who had some health issues and was struggling. So they helped pay her tuition and just community support, that type of thing. And today she wanted to do a prayer circle and invited the volunteers and interested people to come to the prayer circle and listen to her story. And we got to take turns with the talking stick and ask questions. And she was so lovely and open and vulnerable and sharing her trauma. And it's quite astounding to me. She's younger than myself, born in 1986, I think she said, and was given up to a residential home by her biological mother, and her extended family searched for her in vain for many years, and the traumas that she went through in that, quite astounding, really, to listen to the story of her life. And now what an amazing community leader that she chooses to be. She's doing indigenous studies at U of C, and she is doing research, and she's trying to help in corporate environments, because I had no idea, but indigenous women particularly have the highest growth of post-secondary education in our country, and yet they're underemployed. So trying to bridge that gap, I think it's pretty amazing. Just how someone can go through so much trauma and yet focus their life on how they can give back and build in community. So I think I'm sharing more and more on my Instagram page things that I am learning or endeavoring to learn. I'm a long way from knowing a lot of things, but my intention is to grow and learn. And in this particular political, cultural environment, I think that there's a lot of improvements that we can make, and we need to learn not just how to have truth and reconciliation, which is very important, because we do need to take ownership of our history, but also just how to celebrate each other, how to find the joy in the different celebrations. Like one of the discussions today, she shared, how she makes talking sticks and how she made her drum and what it represents, and um, that spirituality to them is really nature, and that being able to see the creator in the sun is often less abstract than those of us in Christian faith that follow God, which is story based, because in the indigenous culture they often don't write things down because they don't want them misinterpreted, whereas we live in a culture of reading old texts and having multitude of interpretations of it. So I'm not saying one way is better than the other way, but you can see folly in both, probably, and risk losing the inherent heart of both ways of doing things, when really we all should be working on building community and respecting each other and growing, in my opinion. I'm sure there's lots of different opinions out there. But that's something that I'm working on, so you'll be hearing more about that. I'll take you along on my growth plan, but I'm not an influencer in any which way. I'm just sharing my journey, and I hope it interests you and you come back to hear what I'm up to and why I do the things that I do. And on that, I also want to talk about another thing. So I want to talk to you about this. So this is a little political, I gotta say. So there's a lot out there right now about Buy Canadian. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I absolutely believe in buying Canadian. I try to promote Canadian products that I discover and love and want to share that love with you, and companies and gift stores, like all that type of thing. But on the other hand, when I was at a meeting for the Outreach Network, there was a discussion because there was some money to be placed into gift cards to be given out to different agencies in the city. And one just inquiring person at the meeting said, should we be buying Walmart gift cards in this time? And there was a big pause in the room. And then somebody spoke and said, I think that's very privileged to be able to think that we are not going to buy from American companies and just promote Canadian, because the reality is that it's the buying power of those bigger stores that make things affordable for people like immigrants and lower income families. And it's also a place that a gift card can be used to get groceries and clothing. And we don't really have a Canadian version of quite that scale. You could say that Superstore does, but it's not quite on the same scale as that. And it's true. It's very privileged if you can blindly go into a store and just buy whatever you want and not have to price compare. But that's not the reality for everybody. And there's also a supply chain. So if we stop purchasing from American companies, we also risk our Canadian employees losing their positions. Our Starbucks kids that write enjoy and a heart on our cups. Now, that's not to say that if you have the option of a Canadian local company that can make your coffee and you can get it, you shouldn't grab it there. But I'm just saying that we shouldn't beat ourselves up, because these companies do employ Canadians, and often those Canadians are our lower income, struggling people. So just something to keep in mind. I think this period of time with the United States hopefully will come to an end at some point. And in the meantime, I hope we can just be more balanced, more aware about buying Canadian if that's within our realm, but also not to judge people if you see them with a Starbucks mug or walking out of Walmart. I just hope that we can be generous and realize that different people have different needs, and yeah, those places also employ Canadians, and there's more than one perspective in all these types of things, because I think the news right now is really pushing, to only buy Canadian, and I think the swell of Canadian pride is amazing, because I think we've, I don't know, shied away from that in the past, and I'm glad to see that part have uptick. But yeah, I just thought I would put that out there. So I think that's about all I have for this week. I guess my son came this week and had a visit, and that was really nice, and he helped me with a few things, which I enjoyed, and I have some fun times coming in March. My good girlfriend is coming to stay from Prince Edward Island, so I'm looking forward to that, and my daughter is gonna come and stay as well for a few days. She has a break in her onboarding for her ER position in Saskatoon. So that's very exciting because I haven't seen her since the beginning of December, and we're close. So while I enjoy all the phone calls, it's not the same as being able to hug your kid. So I look forward to that. This week, I have a multitude of things. Some of them I've shared with you already, I think. My son's coming to stay another night. Yeah, just life, doing life over here, as most of you are. At the end of this video, I'm going to share those 5-week pictures that I shared with Dr. Galanis. And going forward, I'll probably talk a little bit less about my skin removal and plastic surgery. I'll definitely do an update at like 2 months and 3 months, and I'll show you scars and that type of thing so that you can see how I'm healing. But as all things go, you kind of cycle through different things in your life, and this will, while I have a long healing journey still ahead, Dr. Galanis reminded me I'm only 1/6 of the way through where I'm going to get to. So yeah, so I will share, but the increments of it will get, sort of smaller or less visible, I guess, to the eye. So if I share them less frequently, then, here's hoping that you see more defined differences as we go ahead. But as always, if you have questions, ask me, ask away. I'm an open book. And if anything I've shared, brings something up for you, or you have a question, or whatever it may be, you can definitely leave a comment on the video. I don't check in on YouTube very frequently, but I do try to respond to everything I receive. If you want to catch me more regularly, it's probably easier to jump onto Instagram and message me there. That's usually where most people connect with me. And I'm pretty good at replying same day for the most part. Yeah, so that's all that I know. I hope that you are pacing your heart with whatever items are cycling through your life at this moment. I hope there's this spring weather is, for all of us local Calgarians anyways, putting an extra spring in your step. It seems like there's a lot more people out and about, which the weather encourages us to do. And I'm really looking forward to spring, and I'm very excited for March to come and all my company to come. So take care, and we will see you next week on Sunday Summit. Thanks for coming out and joining me.